actually told me, they said, we were at a restaurant and the owner of the restaurant came out, said hello, and then they comped our meal. Not that we needed it paid for, but they comped our meal because my husband had taken such good care of the owner's mother. And so some people aren't super kind to their patients, so I'm thankful that he is, even if he's not kind when he comes home all the time. He's using good energy at work, and that makes it okay.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's kind of true, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's really kind when he talks to people or patients on the phone, and he's caring. I love that about him. So really, they felt that sense of pride when they were out and they heard positive things about their husband. And the last one was their relationships. So this theme, obviously, this study is based on relationships, specifically marital and family relationships. And many of the participants explained that physicians brought work home with them after regularly scheduled hours, doing that pajama time, lengthening their workday, which then has affected the dynamic of their family. So he brings work home. He's doing it all weekend. He gets up early Saturday and Sunday and will get on the computer all day. The physician's inconsistent work schedule leads to a lack of family time. Our family revolves around medicine. It consumes us a lot. My husband, for one, being in radiology, and his office has 3 different computer screens. He's up at 4 o'clock in the morning before I'm up, which is good, because I said, I don't care what you do while I'm sleeping. So he will go in and he will read extra, and we've limited it to that because when he gets home, that's our family time. So that's kind of a boundary that we have put on it personally. They continue that his stress really impacted our marriage. I don't want to tell him how I feel because I don't want anything to be worse. That was a big fear among most of the women. They didn't want to share their feelings because they knew the stress that the physician was already under. So they didn't want to add or increase the burden. We don't sleep in the same bed anymore because he would come to bed very late after staying up late to complete his required charting. I heard that a lot, that if my husband doesn't complete his charts, he doesn't get paid. Or he had a certain time to complete it, to dictate it, or he didn't get paid. He gets short and snappy. Does that sound familiar? I make a deliberate choice not to ask him about his day. I try to refrain any of those questions because it can trigger him. So within any study, there are limitations. So this study, some of the limitations included my membership in the FMAA and the AMAA. And that was in part because I was concerned that either these women may not share fully and completely for fear of they're gonna meet me somewhere down the road, or I might be presenting to them in a venue like this and they might go, I think that was my comment. But also, on the flip side, because they didn't really know me, they may also have been more apt to share fully and completely. And many of them, they did open up and share vulnerable sides of their marriage, so I really appreciate that. So I had no previous relationship with any of the participants, and like I just mentioned, that could be good or bad. And the sample was only female spouses of male physicians, simply because that is our largest pool to pull from. But all of those other demographics, the dual physician households, the female physicians, the LGBTQ+ communities, these need researched as well. And I hope that I get to be part of that someday. So now what? What do we do with this information? Continued research on this topic, expanding the sample size for greater generalization, which means that we know that these comments and what I obtained during these interviews can be applied to most heterosexual relationships where the male spouse is a physician. But generalizing it to a larger community in those other demographics would provide us with a wealth of information. Also studying the different periods of practice, residencies, fellowships, and different periods of practice, whether, your first 5 years, you're out 10 years, you're out 25, 30, and beyond, the retired. All of these carry different dynamics with them. I don't know how many of you have children or how far out of practice, out of training your spouses are, but whether you have infants at home or whether you're empty nesters, your needs are different. There are some common threads that carry throughout, but each of these different phases of practice carry different dynamics with them, where it's great to have your colleagues in the Alliance to turn to. So addressing the needs of medical families, Kathy mentioned it earlier, but we can improve the organizational factors. When the organizations can provide services, not just for the physicians, but for their spouses, those that are offering therapeutic services, extending it to the spouses, to their families, and I'm not just talking about insurance coverage. I'm talking about making